A final from the Bronx. Yankees down to their final out, and Jeff Hoffman gets Cody Bellinger swinging to end the game and end the Yankees season. Blue Jays advance. They win the series 3-1. Aaron Judge with an RBI knock in the bottom of the ninth, but too little too late. Saved the Yankees season on Tuesday. Needed more support from the rest of that Yankee lineup, and they're able to get just 2 runs. Ryan McMahon had a solo homer. Blue Jays just kept peppering Cam Schlittler and the Yankee bullpen, and they get it done. And the Toronto Blue Jays advance to their first ALCS since 2016. Welcome in former MLB Executive of the Year and CBS Sports Baseball insider Jim Bowden. Jim, it was just a little too little late there for the Yankees. We get the Aaron Judge RBI single in the bottom of the ninth, but just not enough runs in this game, and they come up short. Your reaction to how this game and this series ultimately played out?
Yeah, it came in the regular season. The Blue Jays beat the Yankees head-to-head. They get to the postseason, and they did the exact same thing. And the Blue Jays showed in this series, in these 4 games, that they were the better team. They were the better defensive team. They had a lineup that made more contact up and down the lineup. They had better depth in the bullpen. John Schneider, who's going to win Manager of the Year in the American League, was masterful in how he was setting up his relievers against these New York Yankees on a day where it was a bullpen day for him. He started with Lewis Varland, and then he went right through his entire bullpen, matching up and succeeding. Blue Jays just beat the Yankees. It's as clear and simple as that, Hakeem. And look, Aaron Judge had a great October. Unfortunately, it ended too soon for him. Nice to see him step up on the biggest stage in the biggest moments. But to your point, and you made the point at the very beginning, and you're right, the Yankees just didn't have the depth around him offensively to compete with the Blue Jays in this series. And now they head home, and now they start planning for next year.
Does this loss, does this change their approach in the front office in terms of roster construction?
I think it does from a position player perspective. Now, in terms of pitching, I think they're very happy that Cam Schlittler, a star, was born in the postseason. Next year, they'll get Garrett Cole back halfway through the season. So to know you're going to have Schlittler and Cole next year for a full year, they're hoping to get Clark Schmidt back. The starting pitching should be in pretty good shape with Max Fried, Carlos Rodon, Lewis Heel all returning. But in terms of the position players, there's a lot of free agents. Trent Grisham, the center fielder. Cody Bellinger, the left fielder, Paul Goldschmidt, the first baseman, all of them are free agents. And the Yankees have to decide, do they want to go out and get another big impact bat? They certainly missed Juan Soto this October, no doubt about it. Do they want to make a run at Kyle Tucker, as an example, who's a free agent? It's going to be very interesting to see how the Yankees proceed. The other issue is going to be, do they believe in Anthony Volpe? He struggled all year, struggled in the postseason. Are they going to believe in Jazz Chisholm at second base, who didn't turn that double play in this key game? I think there's a lot of decisions they have to make. Is Ryan McMahon going to hit enough to be your everyday third baseman? I think Brian Cashman and the front office have a lot of answers to find this postseason. But I'll tell you one thing, they need to do a lot of work, I think, on their lineup if they want to win next year.
Well, it depends on how much they want to spend, right, Jim? Do you want to spend for a Pete Alonso? Do you want to spend for a Kyle Schwarber? I mean, can you imagine those 2 guys at Yankee Stadium? I mean, you're talking about a 50 home run season for both of them there at Yankee Stadium. I mean, that's sort of what you need when you lose a guy like Soto.
Yeah, but Akeem, that's not going to happen with the Yankees. Brian Cashman, after the Jason Giambi fiasco, he made it a point and said he didn't want to invest in those one-dimensional players again, and they already have Giancarlo Stanton under contract, who's going to be the DH. So I'm expecting Ben Rice to be the first baseman next year. He had 26 home runs here in his rookie year. I think if they go spend the money, I think it'll be more likely on a Kyle Tucker to play in the outfield, or an Alex Bregman or Bo Bichette to play third base. I think that is more realistic than them making a run at Alonso or Schwarber.
This is the 16th straight season without a World Series title for the Yankees. They've failed to win a World Series in 12 straight postseason appearances. They're measured by their postseason success and their postseason failure. When you look at who's going to get a lot of blame, it's always going to be the manager. I know that he just signed a contract. What is his status come the offseason for Aaron Boone and for the Yankees? Because some will say we need another voice, or some will say we need to go in another direction. How do you sort of view this? How do you approach all this with the Yankees in the front office in this offseason?
Yeah, I mean, my understanding is that Hal Steinbrenner is going to bring back Brian Cashman and Aaron Boone. You know, normally they don't extend a manager until the season's over. They changed that this March. They signed Aaron Boone to the extension. And I think Hal Steinbrenner is committed right now for this team to continue. I think this has more to do with they need to improve the depth of the bullpen. They need to improve the lineup. And I think that's where the focus has to be in the offseason rather than looking at the front office or in the dugout. Now, there could be some coaching changes. I don't think that's out of the question. But I think more importantly, we need to watch and see what they're going to do at third base and in the outfield in particular. And if they're okay with Chisholm and Volpe up the middle, there were some plays that weren't made. And when you play teams like Toronto and you're watching them make all the plays that they have, you see the difference on the field. I mean, in most games, Toronto doesn't give you 27 outs. They steal outs. And their outfield was one of the best defensive outfields in the game. So I think defense and contact are two things the Yankees need to work on from a generic perspective this offseason.
Aaron Boone, 25 and 27 in the postseason as Yankees manager. New York trailed by 3 or more runs in every game this series. And look, for Aaron Judge, this is his 10th season in Major League Baseball. If he's going to be an all-time great in Yankee history, and I know that he already is, but if you're talking about Mount Rushmore, Jim, you got to win a World Series if you're in pinstripes.
Yeah, I don't think there's any question. You know, he's got unfinished business, and that's how they're going to feel. I mean, last year they made it to the World Series, were overmatched by the Dodgers. They ran it back. They tried to bring back Juan Soto. They offered him over $700 million. They couldn't get him, so they quickly pivoted and spent their money on Max Fried and Cody Bellinger and Paul Goldschmidt and tried to win that way, and I think the Yankees are going to keep trying to do that. I think they need to work on depth. I think they need to be better prepared for injuries. I think as you looked at the two teams between Toronto and the Yankees, Toronto had more depth, and they can hit you lefties, righties. They put the ball in play. They had more speed coming off the bench. They just had more talent. And when you look at some of these postseason teams like the Dodgers, they have just so much more depth than the Yankees have. So it's not just the lineup. I think it's also the depth that they need to work on.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Toronto had the depth, and consider they didn't have Max Scherzer to give him a couple innings, or Chris Bassett to give him a couple innings, or even a start maybe in a Game 4. Bo Bichette was injured. I mean, you look up and down this lineup for Toronto, and a lot of people go, who are these guys? Addison Barger, Ernie Clement, Nathan Lucas. And you see these guys are hard-working major leaguers that move the runner over, get RBI knocks, play solid defense. This is what a team looks like. We know the Yankees have a really good lineup and a really good roster. They just failed to execute in those positions. And you look at a lineup like the Blue Jays, and there's no reason to think they cannot win a World Series, how deep they are.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I think the Blue Jays are a lot like the Milwaukee Brewers, who had the best record in baseball this year. Both of these teams don't strike out. Both of these teams put the ball in play. Both are athletic. They push the envelope. And Vladimir Guerrero Jr., let's be realistic. He had a great series. He's living up to that $500 million contract they gave him. How about the year George Springer had? I mean, you talk about getting a fountain of youth. I mean, George Springer had 3 years of age in decline until this year, and he's had arguably the best year of his entire career. And both Springer and Guerrero stepped up in the first inning and set the tone in this game with Springer's double and then the RBI by Guerrero. So, to your point, Toronto is a legitimate World Series threat right now. They went from last place to first place and now to the ALCS. And so, yeah, they have a complete team. I think the one part of the team that, you know, may be tested when they get to the 7-game series is the starting rotation because of the injuries they've had to Chris Bassett, to Jose Barrios, the ineffectiveness of Max Scherzer. I mean, that's going to be the question. I mean, remember, you know, they were sitting here in Game 4. They had a bullpen day, right? They were thinking of maybe using Trey LaSavage. They were able to save him. So at least in the next series, they can go Gausman Game 1 and LaSavage in Game 2. But I think in a 7-game series, that's the one question I would have with Toronto. Are they going to have the rotation in that next round? I think if they match up with Seattle, it's going to be difficult. If they match up with Detroit, I think they'll be in pretty good shape.
So you're saying they'd rather face the Tigers then, because really they've got two legit starters that they can run out and get multiple innings in.
Yeah, I think, but remember this now, if Detroit gets in, Scuba will have pitched
Correct.
in Game 5, which means he won't be able to pitch in the first couple of games of the next round. So you're only going to see him twice. You have no threat of seeing him 3 times in the next series, and that's a huge advantage in a 7-game series. So I think Toronto would rather face Detroit than they would Seattle, because Seattle's rotation's deep. They are 1-4. But that's going to be a great Game 5 as well, to see who they play in Seattle on Friday.
A great job by John Schneider deploying his bullpen, executes it to perfection as the bullpen helps win this game for the Blue Jays, knocks out the Yankees as they win the series in 4 games. Jim Bowden here with us on CBS Sports HQ. Jim, thank you. So the drought continues. Look, they have 27 World Series championships, but it's been a while since they won one, 2009. And so you're sitting here going, it's been a little while as a Yankee fan. You're like, I know we win a lot, but haven't won in a while. A 16 straight season without a World Series title. That's a lot for a Yankee fan who expects to win big, expects to go deep into October and win a World Series. And yet again, they come up short here as they lose in the ALDS.